G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with another FIA Manufacturers Cup combination. We're at Tokyo Expressway East Inner Loop this time. That's interesting. In Group 4 of course. So once again, driving the McLaren 650S Group 4 car, we're at a Tokyo Expressway track that we actually have not seen in FIA before. Very interestingly, I think it's a cool circuit actually. It's the Tokyo Expressway layout with the massive 2 kilometer long straight. It's in the reverse direction however, but as with the Tokyo circuits, it's not as simple as just running the existing track in the opposite direction. There's a different set of on-ramps that you use around the sort of environment that you're in order to create the one running in the opposite direction. I think the way it actually works is it's a highway loop with 2 separated lanes of traffic. You run on the inside in the current direction we're going, therefore inner loop, and then on the outside loop, so the lanes on the other side, the ones to my right throughout this race, is the outer loop that runs in the opposite direction. So, you know, it's not as simple as some of the other circuits where it's just like Dragon Trail, Seaside 2. But we go out for qualifying. My car is quite strong in qualifying actually. We'll talk about more of the intricacies of the race, which proved to be very interesting because it's not a straightforward race like you'd expect. But in qualifying trim, however, the McLaren is quite a strong car. Coming into turn 1, braking just after the 150 meter board, pretty much as you go under the green sign, directly after the 150. See, we take a little bit of a double apex through that hairpin there. An alternative to that is sort of running wide through the first apex and then cutting back. We'll see that line being taken a little bit later. But coming into turn 2 now, just after the 50 meter board, dab of brakes as we turn in. 5th gear, very fast corner this. Coming into turn 3, just on the start of the arrows on the right hand side. Once again, just brake and gently turn in. Turn 4, I think it's easily flat out. We'll see in a second. Very easily flat out in these cars. Coming in towards turn 5, braking just on the dip. A little dab of brake just as the track sort of evens out. And then just flat out all the way up towards the high speed chicane, just on the 50 meter board, slight dab of brakes, just roll the car through, keeping as much momentum up as possible. We managed to get into the slipstream of the BMW up ahead here of DTC Racing, so as long as we don't catch up to him before the main straight, that remains an advantage for us. Very easy flat out turns 9 and 10 in towards the final 2 corners. We have to lift off a little bit as we just catch up too close to that BMW. Final corners though, 11. Nice and easy, and then turn 12. Pretty similar technique to the final hairpin at Dragon Trail Gardens, the double hairpin. But we now have the slipstream of the BMW, which is going to be good for our lap time here. Pulling out of the slipstream as we catch up. No bump drafting with the current penalty system, of course. Also don't want to lose momentum. We're running 3 wide down the main straight there. So it's going to be interesting to see. You can see quite clearly, actually, how the slipstream works. So myself, on the very back of the 3 of us, had the better momentum. Come across the line with a 207.4, which is provisional pole position by 1.5 tenths. Not bad at all. But we're going to go out for a second qualifying run here. Hopefully we can improve the qualifying time. We of course did not have slipstream for the entirety of the straight, so there's quite a big opportunity to improve. We find ourselves a slipstream of 2 cars up ahead, Shumi and Nitro. G'day Nitro. He of course also has a YouTube channel and is part of the Discord server I'm in, so do check him out. I've linked him before, I'll link him again. But coming into the hairpin here, we've got to see that alternate line here, and Nitro's going to be the one to take. You can see he's wide on the entry, and then look how he cuts back for that second apex, and I just make contact, and he completely, or not completely, but he heavily spins out. He does manage to catch it, to be fair to him, but I felt quite bad for that. But it just goes to show there's differing lines to take through there. So his line would result in more momentum down this straight. My line results in a tighter, shorter distance. So, you know, in terms of what's quicker, they're probably even. But it's really up to what you feel most comfortable with as a driver. So I tried to give him slipstream to kind of say sorry, because I kind of ruined his lap a little bit. I didn't expect him to sort of cut back as much as he did. He of course is entitled to do that. I'm the car behind. I have to focus on not making contact, but I was way too close to him in order to give him a good slipstream, so he kind of pulls out. He does get a good run, but it's not as good as it could have been. He actually gets a fair slingshot, to be fair to him though, given how close we were behind. But we're coming through the twisty sector now. We're a little bit too close to him, unfortunately, and we're just going to be suffering from dirty air through all these high downforce corners. You can see we managed to work out a line through turn 5 and 6 where there's no braking, just a lift, so hopefully that helps with tyre wear in the race. Going through the high speed chicane, Nitro gets a little bit wrong, hits the wall on the exit there, and we managed to slide our way up the inside through turn 9. Just leaves us about half a second down in our current time at the moment. Come across the line one more time, and you know, no improvement there. Ultimately finishing in 4th position at this stage. Whether that changes shortly, we'll soon see. But we'll see now. I managed to finish that session in 4th. So the race, well, we'll talk about the race shortly, but as for now, let's just enjoy the Manufacturers Cup introduction. Right, so we join on the grid. 4th position, obviously a good starting position. McLaren, good in a straight line. Track, 2 kilometres straight. Recipe for a good result. The kicker. This is a fuel-saving race. It's a big one too. McLaren has a weakness, and I've found the weakness in this race. Absolutely shocking on fuel. The McLaren is one thirsty boy. A very, very thirsty machine. It likes a drink or two. Can't blame it, honestly. Am I right? But aside from that, the race, well, 9 laps here. We've got 99% of fuel to play with, so it's 11% fuel per lap we're looking for. So we have to try and balance this McLaren. We have to find that balance between lap time and fuel saving. Very difficult to do, as McLaren uses a lot of fuel to keep it going. So as we begin to fuel save, we're going to be dropping back in this pack. So a good grid position here is really just precautionary. It's really just a way to get yourself as far forward in the grid as possible so you don't fall back as much, essentially. It's, you know, getting your advantage at the start of the race rather than throughout the race, maybe in a car. For example, maybe in a car that is better on fuel. And the McLaren is one of the worst cars in Group 4 for fuel. I was actually contemplating not even doing this race, but I thought, look, let's give it a go. Let's see what I can do in the McLaren. So as long as we can just get a nice clean run, you know, top 10 I suppose would be good. But we hit the wall on the inside of the high-speed chicane there, and it just leads Wogarigany driving that Subaru WRX to go around the outside, followed by Superstar there, ironically driving the BMW, and just as we close the door on the apex there, GT Sport Penalty makes his way through. He's just about to serve a penalty, but he gives us a 2-second one. Not good looking up the inside of the Subaru going into the final 2 corners there, but we now have this penalty to deal with. This was Manufacturers Series, so of course on a Wednesday I had the opportunity to go for a few slots here. I did 2 races. This is the first one. The second one was really nothing different to this, so I just showed you. I'm just going to show you this first race. It was the most interesting of the 2. The second one was not that great in terms of the racing, so we'll just focus on this first one. But you can see the Subaru pulls out of the slipstream from the BMW. That Subaru actually is absolutely crap in a straight line, by the way, so he's going to be suffering for days down this straight. McLaren is normally very good in a straight line, but you can see, because of the type of race this is, I'm taking full advantage of the slipstream I've got at the moment. Fuel map 6 all the way down this straight. I'm just hanging back, getting the speed on the straight from the slipstream rather than the power of the car. But you can see we drop down to fuel map 4 as we come into the braking zone for the hairpin here. that BMW was ominously looking like it was going to do that cutback line that Nitro did, but he manages to keep it off the apex a little bit, just leaving room for me. But thanks to that sort of later apex type line, he gets a better run up this straight here. But that doesn't worry me. As long as we can remain in the slipstream, I'm going to be saving fuel. My main tactic here in terms of this race was to save as much fuel as possible sort of in the first 7 laps, and the final 2 laps really unleash the car using all that fuel we saved up. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'm fuel saving very, very heavily, short shifting, which you do in the McLaren anyway, but short shifting even more at the correct opportunity, and fuel maps all the way through the lap essentially. So all this twisty section, it's not necessarily how fast can you go, it's more about downforce. So as long as we can keep the rolling momentum up, which you don't necessarily need that much engine power for, you can get away with using fuel maps. You can see I've used fuel map 4 and 3 throughout all of this lap here, but unfortunately it's coming up to the time we're going to have to serve this 2-second penalty. And you know the current penalty system at the moment, if a car runs into the back of me as I'm coming back up to speed, it's going to give me another penalty here. But you can see we come sort of out in a little bit of a gap. We've got a Jaguar driven by Mega Wang going up the inside of the final, or second to last corner technically. He manages to get himself ahead by the last corner, but that does give us a slipstream down the straight. Look how close we are, so I'm going to be short shifting heavily. Fuel map 6, he is going to pull away from me, but that's not to worry. As long as he sort of remains within that 7/10 barrier of slipstream, I'm not going to be worried about him pulling away. You can see just as we're getting up to speed, I go fuel map 2 to get that final bit of acceleration, and then finally we get into fuel map 4. We're fuel saving heavily. That Citroen behind was good on fuel. It's received a little bit of a nerf, I think, but I would imagine it would remain quite a strong car on fuel. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. You can see he's obviously fuel saving too, because he's got another car going up his inside, DTC Racing, in the BMW that we were following him in qualifying. He qualified a little bit far back, but he's making his way through the pack a little bit, gaining a lot of ground under brakes here. So McLaren MR car, which means the engine's at the back. To balance out the weight of the car, you send your brake balance to the front. Therefore it gets a lot of bite under braking, therefore it's good under braking. So the McLaren is quite a solid car, except for its fuel saving, or fuel use technically. Fuel saving is just made more difficult by excess fuel use. But we're out of the slipstream as we head towards this final, the middle sector here, or middle part of the lap I guess, middle section, twisty part of the lap. But that doesn't worry me too much because I'm going to be in the slipstream, but unfortunately going through turn 3, the Citroen drives into the back of me as we go through, and he completely leaves me out of the way as a little bit of payback. I didn't quite understand what kind of went on there. You know, obviously in motorsport you take a slow in, fast out line. That's what I was doing through turn 3, but he ran into the back of me and gave him, he got a penalty. That's what frustrated him, I think, and he kind of punted me off the best he could given the type of circuit it is. So that puts me down in 16th position, back down with my mate Nitro. So once again we're back racing. Nitro makes his way up through turn 10, but we're going to be in that slipstream there. So this race once again going very, very far down the pipes to the back of the toilet. So you might remember my previous video. It was Nations Cup at Monza. We were in the McLaren, but a very different race. It was a sprint race. The McLaren should have been strong, but it was just an overall very poor performance, and there was a couple of unlucky happenings that occurred in that race, and I ended up finishing very, very far down the grid after ruining someone's race by missing my braking point. So go back and watch that, I mean, even though I've just spoiled it, but yeah, go back and watch it, you can see what went on, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit of a better result here. I wasn't expecting much, given that I knew it was a fuel-saving race. You can see Bob Sport takes that cutback line there, and I run into the back of him. I was very frustrated at this point. I just wanted this race to be done with once again, so I just backed off, let Bob Sport retake his position quite convincingly, 8 tenths ahead of me, out of slipstream. So the only thing I can hope for now is the stragglers that are going to pit, and fuel saving as much as possible. So I'm going to hope that other people haven't been fuel saving as much as me, and therefore they have to continue to fuel save at the same rate throughout the last 2 laps, whereas I'm hoping to save up a bit of fuel to use extra fuel in the last 2 laps in order to make a couple of positions up. We'll see if that works out for me, but as for now, we are currently 1.5 seconds off last position. So this race has gone absolutely awfully, so the race structure not good. Oh, that's awkward there. Bob Sport just runs, actually I run deep into the chicane therefore I'm narrow for the second part of that high-speed chicane, and Bob Sport turns in, not expecting me to be there, and I just back off, let Bob Sport keep his position, and that just allows Yo Rocket to capitalise on the both of us, thanks to us losing our momentum. We are now actually in last place by no other fault other than me. Or the incident with TBR I'm not going to take responsibility for, but apart from that, everything else is kind of my own fault. I haven't binned it, I haven't pitted, I haven't done anything wrong really. Well, I've done stuff wrong, but I haven't made any glaring errors, and I've found myself in last position. So the race coming to its closing stages, 3 laps to go. A couple of people did go into the pits actually, and that's going to be interesting here as we come up the main straight, but nothing obviously transpires there. We skip ahead. Bob Sport hits the wall on the exit of the high-speed chicane. We go around his outside through turn 9. That leaves us in the slipstream of Mega Wang here, about half a second behind Mega Wang at this point. 6/10 up on our fastest lap at this point, which is only a 2:10.9. Come across the line with a 2:09.2, much better lap. You can see fastest lap is a 2:07.9 put in by Shumi, so that's going to be a slipstream assisted lap. But you can see as we head up the main straight of lap 8, couple more people coming out of the pits. Nick Mannequin there in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Coming out of the pits, we managed to make that position up there. So obviously he's gone into the pits to refuel. So he's not going to have to fuel save. You can see Bob Sport makes his way up the inside of the hairpin there. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on Nick Mannequin behind. He's not going to be needing to fuel save. Therefore, he's probably going to be much faster pace throughout this lap here. You can see he's closing quite quickly. Completely goes up the inside on the straight between turn 1 and 2. And that's, that was inevitable. There was no way I was going to keep a car that had pitted behind me if I have to continue to fuel save. You can see I'm so close to this car. I'm fuel map 5 at this point. 1.7 laps of fuel remaining. I've probably got about 1.5 laps remaining of the race. So I have saved up a little bit of a fuel bank at this point here. And I've got 3 cars ahead. I don't expect to get myself up past Nick Mannequin, but I do expect myself to catch up and maybe get Bob Sport and Mega Wang. That will translate to 14th position, I think, because I expect Nick Mannequin to also make his way past the pair up ahead, who have begun to fight a little bit as someone hit the wall. I think it was Mega Wang. He's slow as we head through the very fast corners of turn 9 and 10. Nick Mannequin is able to capitalise on that, makes his way around the outside into the braking zone for turn 11. Bob Sport slides into the wall, so that's quite crucial here. He's got himself a 1.5 second penalty. He's going to serve that on the only set of penalty gates at this circuit here, which is coming into the second to last corner. So I think we should be able to get our position from Bob Sport. Nick Mannequin also gets a poor run off the start of the straight, but thanks to him having pitted and not needing to fuel save, he manages to make his way very easily past Mega Wang in the Jaguar. We fall out of slipstream range, but I really just wanted to save some fuel. You can see we crossed the line with 12%. I didn't save. I was using a bit throughout this lap, not saving as much as I was throughout the start of the race. So we have 12% of fuel for a 1 lap here. Hopefully we can just catch up through this fast sector here, and I think we are doing that quite convincingly here. Mega Wang, we just took a 10th. I just took 3/10 of it out of him through the first part of the lap, and he's obviously got hardly any fuel left. He's going so slow through there. Bob Sport is going to serve his penalty there. He's serving that right now. That's going to lose him a lot of momentum. He is very far ahead of me, however, so that's going to be interesting in terms of braking for this second to last corner. And the final 2 corners, we don't get an outright move in terms of pace past him, but maybe we can slipstream past it down the straight. You can see we've saved massively throughout that twisty section there. We've got 5% of fuel, and only probably the 1.2 kilometre run down to that start-finish line there. So we're going to be fuel map 1, full power. McLaren is good in a straight line. Lamborghini's nothing to sneeze at either, but it's not as good as a McLaren. And you can see we just sail on by. I couldn't decide which word to use there, but sail is the one that came out. He gets into the slipstream. As we're getting up towards the line, he pulls out, but he doesn't have that momentum to get past. We managed to claw our way back up into 14th, which is where I estimated we would get. How good's that? But 14th position, that race, I'm happy with the result in terms of I was able to claw back positions at the end, but in terms of the start, it was an absolute disaster. I got a penalty, got punted off, quite a disastrous performance there. And I was kind of coming into this race expecting that, as I knew this would be a very poor combination for the McLaren. But, you know, coming off the result at Monza, another poor result in this McLaren, I can't say I've been too stoked with this season of manufacturers, given that my Group 3 car isn't really up to scratch either. It's got around Fuji, but that's about the only good race I've ever had with that car. So, you know, this has been a bit of a weird season. Nations Cup has gone a lot better. But as for manufacturers, not that great. But that's going to finish up this one today. Do hit that like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.